Welcome to another Thursday night Bible study, brought to you as a ministry of SIGBC.
We looked previously at the idea that our kindness benefits everyone, including ourselves. And then we talked about the fact that God's kindness expressed in his goodness is a model of kindness and compassion for us. And we looked at how Isaiah talked about God's kindness and how it benefited those of us who are his children, particularly in that case, the children of Israel. And then last week we saw the idea that our kindness is first expressed in the way we talk to others to build them up. And that was what we concluded with. And this is where we're going to pick up today, because Proverbs chapter 12, verse 25 says, "Anxiety weighs down the heart, but a kind word cheers it up." And I think you could probably think back in your life to a time when someone said something to you. Maybe it was just a off-the-wall, simple comment, but that one comment brightened your life and cheered you up. I was watching a little video on YouTube recently, and the video was of a young lady who was sitting there having dinner with, I imagine it was her grandmother, and her grandmother said, "You look so beautiful today." And she was looking a little sad, and she looked up and she smiled and she started getting tears in her eyes. And the grandmother said, "Oh, what's wrong?" And she said, you think I'm beautiful?" And she obviously was emotionally moved by those simple sentiments. She was going through her teenage years, and I'm sure she was going through that period of female angst in the teen years when they don't feel that beautiful. And so her grandmother's words just made her day and brightened her face. Anxiety weighs down the heart, but a kind word cheers it up. So our kindness is first expressed in the way we talk to others to build them up. Number 4, our kindness is also expressed in our getting rid of actions and attitudes which are unkind in our lives. And so sometimes we might have habits that we have allowed ourselves to get into that are actually quite unkind, that we don't think of as unkind, but maybe be hurtful to others. And so Ephesians chapter 4, verse 30 and 31 give us these words of caution. "And do not grieve the Holy Spirit of God, with whom you were sealed for the day of redemption." Get rid of. This is what you're supposed to do away with. "All bitterness and rage and anger and brawling and slander," that is gossiping about other people to cause them harm, "along with every form of malice," malice being the intent on doing harm for others. And so our kindness is expressed in our getting rid of actions and attitudes which are unkind in our lives. We have to deliberately contemplate the things that we are doing and the things that we are saying, and maybe the way that we are saying them, that may come across to others as not necessarily being uplifting or being encouraging or motivating or even kind. We can make the difference in one person's life by our actions of kindness. I was watching another video the other day, and I like to watch videos because they teach a lot about human nature, especially YouTube videos that are not professionally produced. They teach a lot about human nature, and they show a lot about what real people actually do. Now, I know a lot of these YouTube videos are made up and they're staged and all these things, but I was watching one where there was a police officer who was approaching very gently from behind an individual who was sitting on a bridge. And he was sitting on the edge of the bridge, getting ready to jump. And the police officer crept up behind him, and then as soon as he got close to him, he grabbed him and pulled him back, sat him on the sidewalk, and then instead of going into policeman mode and putting him in handcuffs or pulling him away, the police officer sat him down on the sidewalk, and then the police officer sat down right in front of the young man. And with a heart filled with compassion, he began kindly talking to him about what it was that he was going through that might be causing him to think that he needed to end his own life. And in the end of the video, you saw the police officer hugging the young man and then hugging the young man's father who had arrived on the scene. And it's just a beautiful scene because our kindness is also expressed in our getting rid of actions and attitudes that are unkind in our lives and seeking to do maybe even one good thing to one individual for whose life we are able to affect positively. So rather than affecting people's lives negatively through our bitterness and our slander and our anger and our malicious thinking, what we should be doing is every day thinking, what one act of kindness can I do today that will benefit others? You've heard the starfish story, I'm sure. The story goes that an old man was walking on the beach one morning after a storm, and in a distance he could see someone moving like a dancer, and as he came closer he saw that a young woman was picking up starfish and gently throwing them into the ocean. "Young lady, why are you throwing starfish into the ocean?" he asked. "Well, the sun is up and the tide is going out, and if I don't throw them in, they will die," she said. "But young lady, do you not realize that there are many miles of beach and thousands of starfish? You cannot possibly make a difference." The young woman politely listened to the old man, then bent down, picked up another starfish, and threw it into the sea. It made a difference to that one. See, we can't possibly solve all the problems of the world. We can't possibly help everybody that needs help. But God's not calling us to help the entire world or everyone that possibly needs help. God is calling us to be kind, one person at a time, and to always and consistently be kind to one another, compassionate, forgiving one another. Which leads us to our final point in kindness. Our kindness is the basis for our compassion and ability to forgive one another. In other words, as we have a heart of kindness, we can have a heart of compassion. And as we have a heart of compassion for others, it makes it easier for us to choose to forgive one another. And that's why he says in verse 32, be kind. And then as a result of your choice to be kind, have a heart of compassion. And as you choose to be kind and compassionate to others, then you will be able to forgive from the heart as God, for Christ's sake, forgave you. I read a story that was written by Joanne Jones that relates to this choice to be kind and compassionate and forgiving. And the story goes like this. During my second year of nursing school, our professor gave us a quiz. She says, I breezed through the questions until I read the last one. What is the first name of the woman who cleans the school? Well, surely this was a joke. I had seen the cleaning woman several times, but how would I know her name? I handed in my paper, leaving the last question blank. Before the class ended, one student asked if the last question would count towards our grade. Absolutely, the professor said. In your careers, You will meet many people. All are significant. They deserve your attention and your care, even if all you do is smile and say hello. And Joanna says, I've never forgotten that lesson. I also learned her name was Dorothy. See, God's call to kindness and compassion and forgiveness is a call to life change and life choices. And it is a call to, in the sea of people who need help, and in the sea of people who need encouragement, and in the sea of people who need compassion, kindness, and forgiveness, we choose to see the one individual that's in front of us that we can encourage, for whom we can be kind. And so God says, be kind to one another. And I trust that having a renewed sense of kindness being not just something that we feel in our hearts, but something that we feel and then act upon by the words that we say and the things that we do and the choices that we make, these will change others for good and will result in happiness for us.
Thank you for listening. You can also join us in person or live on Facebook every Sunday at 2:30 p.m. Japan time. This has been a ministry of Sakahogi International Grace Baptist Church.